Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel.
I had to put on my reaching hat. Hear me out.
If you want a free medical evaluation, psychological
I was gonna say, I
evaluation.
haven't gotten any sleep in about 3 days. They have good facilities.
They do actually, from what I understand.
And a gym where I can work out.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
kind of happy.
Like I said,
You'll be okay without your mama?
You are going to get a padded room.
How long have you lived here?
Like 3 weeks.
Oh, geez. Yeah, okay.
That's why the neighbors don't know us.
Gotcha.
Like, hi neighbor, sorry.
Are you working at all?
No.
Okay. And you're still about 5'6"? 120? Thank you, ma'am. Hello, young lady. And let me just get your information. How old are you?
16.
16? And you live here with mom?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how tall you are? What do you think you weigh?
Probably like 5'1" maybe.
Mm-hmm. What do you think you weigh?
160 maybe.
Okay. Red or, oh, that's brown for sure. Oh, blonde too. You guys, I'm gonna list you as a blonde young lady here. You got, and then blue eyes?
Yeah.
You have very blue eyes. That's not under debate.
Hello everyone and happy Halloween. Today I wanted to make a whole video dedicated to Lori Vallow's relationship with her dearly departed daughter, Tylee Ryan. I find that a lot of people think that Lori was like somewhat of a good mother until she met Chad, and that changed everything. And I do not believe that at all. I believe that Lori is the one who has been messed up this whole entire time, and she has ruined Tylee's life from the very beginning until the very end. But before I begin, you guys know I have to give my thanks to my returning subscribers, old and new. Thank you guys so much for your continued support, for coming back, for watching my videos, liking, commenting. Even if you don't do any of that, if you just watch and you don't do anything, I appreciate you anyway. And you know, I'm gonna keep saying thank you. If I ever stop, I need you guys to call me out on it. And if you are new here, hi. This is me. I wear a tinfoil hat and I talk about true crime and conspiracies, and this video is a little bit of both because obviously it's a true crime case, but it's my conspiracy, allegedly, don't sue me, that Lori has been the mastermind of all of this, and Lori has been a very mean mother since the beginning, especially to Tylee. So let's dive in. Now, the only way to make sense of this is to start from the beginning and work our way till, unfortunately, the end of Tylee's life. And the reason why I want to do that is because I want you guys to see the progression. It also makes sense, and it's, to me, the only way to do this. Here is Lori when she was pregnant with Tylee. She is sitting here with Tylee's aunt, Annie Cushing. Annie Cushing, by the way, she has a YouTube channel, and she has been really involved in this case. She has a website called Analytics because she's into data, and so she took her expertise with data, applied it to this case. She has a very extensive timeline, the most extensive timeline out there, and then a lot of the things in there, well, not a lot, but some of the things in there are her own knowledge. So I don't know, I find it to be my favorite timeline. I refer to a lot. I'll have it linked down below if you guys want to look at it, and also her YouTube. So after Tylee was born, when she was about 18 months old, her parents divorced. Now, her mother, as you know, is Lori Vallow, and her father is Joseph Ryan. It was a very contentious, long, bitter custody battle that ensued after the divorce was finalized, and it went on much longer than it should have. Now, I have done a deep dive on these documents. I have 3 videos where I go into the documents and read them all like out loud for you and everything. I'll have that link down below as well. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to include and read some of the documents that are relevant to, you know, Lori and Tylee's relationship specifically. I don't want to repeat myself. If you've seen that video, don't worry, some things may overlap, but I've got documents I haven't mentioned there, and also I'm choosing certain excerpts that relate to this focus. So whether you've seen that or not, you can enjoy this video is the point I'm trying to make. In these court documents, you start to see just how much Lori is willing to use and abuse pretty much anybody, including her own daughter, for her personal vendettas, for her agenda to be petty. It's just unbelievable what this woman does to everybody around her just to get her way. Okay, so let's start with the divorce decree really quickly. It is dated May 2005, and what I want to mention in the divorce decree is the child support agreement, because that's going to come into play. As you can see here, it shows that Lori was to be paid $1,500 by Joseph Ryan every month, and this was to continue as long as Lori had custody until Tylee was either 18 or other conditions, including if she were to pass. Tylee was killed about a year before her 18th birthday, just for context. Once the divorce was finalized is when the problems really began. It all started with a motion that was filed by Joe Ryan saying that Lori was withholding Tylee from him. What do you think Lori did? She fired back, and when she fired back, she came guns a-blazing. She came back saying that, first of all, Joe Ryan has not paid his child support, and she showed a little graph showing that, where he has missed his payments. Let me read you what Lori said to the court. I am the mother and primary joint conservator of Tylee Ryan, age 3, and Colby Ryan, age 10. Joseph Ryan is not Colby's father and does not exercise visitation with him at present. Recently, in late July 2006, my daughter began expressing fear of her father and became resistant to going to his house. Since she's only 3, she cannot always articulate her feelings, but indicated that her father is, quote, crashing into her and she does not want to visit. Previously, she had liked going to see her father. I have taken her to a play therapist to try and find out if anything happened, and that should be a cause for concern. With no prompting from me, after this behavior from my daughter began, my son then disclosed on or about August 6, 2006 that respondent had been inappropriate with him when we were still together and living in Hayes County, and had threatened to harm me if he ever told what happened. I have taken him to the Hayes County authorities to be interviewed. There is now an ongoing Child Protective Services investigation. I did make one of several reports and an indecency with a child investigation ongoing in Hayes County. I request that possession be suspended between Tylee and her father until the criminal investigation is resolved, or that in the alternative, the court make orders that will protect the health and safety of the child. Signed, August 18, 2006, Lori Noreen Ryan. And then the next thing we have here is the report. So we've got a report, and we also have an interview that police did after the fact. So let me show you the report first. So here you see it's dated on the 7th of August 2006, and it's called, so Lori called and she said that there was a sexual assault incident that had occurred. Her evidence of this is interview with Colby and Tylee on video, and she lists here some information. It's basically indecency with child sexual contact. So shortly after that, there is an interview. So the police, they come and they interview the children, and this is what they find. I go into this more in the other video, but I'm just going to focus on the Tylee part. So it says here, interview with Tylee. Tylee Ryan was interviewed on August 8, 2006 at 1:42 p.m. by Melissa Rodriguez at Roxanne's house. Miss Rodriguez began the interview by qualifying 3-year-old Tylee. Tylee currently attends the Children's Center of Austin Daycare located off Bee Caves Road, and her teacher is Tara. Tylee was asked if she knew why she was at Roxanne's house. She did not know. She identified her family as her brother, Colby, her mother, Lori, her father, Charles, this is Charles Vallow, and her father, Joseph, who lives elsewhere. Ms. Rodriguez asked Tylee what she did when she visited her father, Joseph. Tylee advised that she sleeps with him and has snacks with him. Tylee identified the female private parts as boobies, pots, and butt. She identified the male body parts as wiener and butt. Tylee denied that anyone had ever touched or looked at her private parts. Tylee denied anyone ever wanted her to look at their body parts. Tylee denied that she ever told anyone that something like that had happened to her. Shortly thereafter, there's another accusation made by Lori, and this is the one where I said she says that Joseph Ryan came to her work and threatened her, and I'll read you some of that statement. So this one is dated October 19, 2006, so it's about few months after the first thing I just read you. She says, in addition, in the last week, Mr. Ryan, my ex-husband, has harassed me at my place of work. Specifically, he has embarked on a pattern of harassment which has alarmed and frightened me and the entire workplace. He walked by my front entrance where I easily can be seen and made a threatening gesture with his hand and fingers like he was shooting a gun at me. A few minutes later, he drove by and pointed a metallic colored object at me and through his open car window and an open door in my salon. Both my customers and coworkers, as well as myself, became alarmed. Mr. Ryan has previously been warned by police not to come to the salon or call the salon. The officer previously present was called and he immediately reported by taking my statement and attempting to find my ex-husband. The policeman told me that since he had already warned my ex-husband, he could do quote-unquote something about it. In the past, he has threatened to kill me with a knife, chop me in little pieces, and put my remains in a dark cave. Hold on. That sounds oddly similar to what happened to Tylee. Lori projects on a level, like the biggest projector of a movie theater can't even come close to her. So anyway, he has also threatened his stepson, Colby, age 10, that he would kill him with a knife, which he actually showed him, and that he would, quote, disappear with Tylee. I'm concerned that if he continues to be around me and Tylee, that he will continue his pattern of harassment. I am also concerned he is refusing to take the evaluation ordered by the previous judge, even under supervised visitation provided by Kids Exchange. I am concerned that he may be at the very least a serious emotional threat to her, and since the visit may be off-site, I fear he could be a threat to her health and safety. At this point, Lori has assassinated Joe Ryan's character beyond recognition at this point. And, you know, whether or not the accusations are true, what she does to Tylee, what she puts Tylee through, what she makes her endure, it's not beneficial to Tylee, even if these accusations were true. So I want to tell you what happens after this. What ends up happening is the evaluation that was supposed to be given, right? These accusations led to the court saying, well, Joe Ryan needs to be evaluated by the court to see if these allegations are true. And it's a long drawn out thing. Again, I go into it a lot more in my video, but just to summarize, what happens is there's an evaluation that clears Joe Ryan. It says that he has low to no risk of these proclivities. And Lori goes on this whole campaign to discredit the report, which works. It's like a whole drama. She ends up getting this report removed, and now they have to do another evaluation, okay? I forgot to mention also in the report, the first one that said that Joe Ryan had a low to no risk of these things, it also said that when they interviewed Tylee, she seemed coached. Basically, they saw right through her. She didn't like it. She tried to get another report. Before she gets another report, she does something else. Can you guess what it is? If you guessed she makes another accusation, you're right. You're absolutely right. This time, the accusation that she makes is that Joe Ryan attacked her. So it says here, affidavit for warrant of arrest and detention, Joseph Ryan, and it says on or about 23rd of May 2007, did commit the offense of assault, family violence. And then it says here that suspect Ryan approached victim, identified as Lori Vallow, and struck victim with his left forearm, making contact with her left forearm. Victim stated that the strike had caused her pain and visible redness. Victim also stated that the strike had caused her to lose her balance. Affiant has good reason to believe that Joseph Ryan intentionally and knowingly caused physical contact to offend or provoke and cause pain. Therefore, arrested Joseph Ryan for assault, family violence. After Lori got Tylee's dad arrested, she must have thought, you know, she was invincible, or she like tricked everyone or whatever, because then she went on to disobey and violate the custody arrangement again. And she again withheld Tylee from him, and of course with all her claims of why she did that. So what ended up happening is that Joe Ryan went and filed a temporary restraining order to get custody of Tylee, because he wasn't getting her when he was supposed to. The application of petitioner for temporary restraining order was presented to the court today. The child, the subject of this suit, is Tylee Ashlyn Ryan, and the respondent is Lori Vallow. It is therefore ordered that the clerk of this court issue a temporary restraining order restraining respondent, so that's Lori Vallow, and respondent is immediately restrained from disturbing the peace of the child of another party, withdrawing the child from enrollment in the school or daycare facility where the child is presently enrolled, hiding or secreting the child from petitioner, making disparaging remarks regarding petitioner or petitioner's family in the presence or within the hearing of the child. It is further ordered that petitioner Joseph Anthony Ryan take possession of the child pending further orders of this court. It says that the court should authorize the appropriate law enforcement agencies to take measures to prevent the abduction of the child by respondent. So at this point, they are saying Lori should not have Tylee. They're going to take Tylee from her, and they're going to make sure Lori doesn't take Tylee back, and they're ordering a psych eval for Lori, who just made sure that there's a psychosexual eval for Joe Ryan. So now they both need to be evaluated, and poor Tylee caught in the middle. As per usual, as is going to happen throughout this whole thing, it's the most tragic thing ever. Now we have Lori's response. Are you ready? Get ready. On or about August 7, 2006, respondent's 10-year-old son, Colby Ryan, made outcries of sexual abuse of him at the hands of petitioner Joseph Ryan. These outcries were immediately reported to the Lakeway Police, who referred the respondent to Hays County Sheriff's Department, blah, blah, blah. Forensic interview was done for Colby and his sister. During those interviews, Colby Ryan made clear and unequivocal outcries of sexual abuse by Joe Ryan, which, by the way, it's in my other video, but I'll tell you right now, is the police said that they were not able to verify. They determined that they couldn't substantiate the claims because there was no evidence. And when they asked for the mattress, because the details of it, you'll understand if you saw the video, but they asked for the mattress and Lori refused to give them the mattress, the evidence, right? So they were like, we're seeing a pattern here, right? When things don't go Lori's way, she lies. She makes baseless, horrendous accusations that they're so shocking that everybody kind of stops and is like, okay, what do we do about this? Like, if this is true, this is insane. This is huge. We can't just ignore it. But you know what I mean? Because it's such a crazy accusation. But at the same time, there's never any proof other than her own claims and no other witness other than herself. So as usual, Lori is not at all thinking about Tylee and about whether Tylee needs to see her father or whether Tylee should be taken out of school. Like, I'm pretty sure she's like, they're out to get me, you know, with her crazy like paranoia, fake paranoia, in my opinion. Let's move on. The next thing that happens is you start to have these reports to the court by the guardian ad litem. Okay, these are appointed by the court to protect the best interest of children when it's a contentious divorce or custody or court type of battle. They will be there just to protect the interests of the children. And these guardian reports to the court are so depressing, heart-wrenching, so sad, because they give you an idea of how much this was negatively affecting Tylee and how much nobody cared. Like, you know, Joseph Ryan kept suing. Lori kept suing. They both were just nonstop. Now, Lori was going crazy with the accusations, but it seemed like at some points they were both being petty, if I'm being honest. Okay, so remember how I told you that there was this evaluation that had to be done on Joe Ryan to see if the accusations were true, and how Lori had managed a way to get that dismissed? Well, now then there was another one. Okay, so that's what I want to talk about now. Long story short, same situation. They didn't believe that Joe Ryan did it, and they thought that the kids were coached. There was some... Oh, hold on, that's my doggy. I had to let my dog in. Do you want to say hello, Diesel? Want to say, come here, say hi? Oh, come here. Oh, no, he doesn't. Okay, he's like not into it. Okay. Anyway, he's still wearing a cone, and oh, what's the matter? Oh, what's the matter? What's up with the leg? Maybe I can show you guys what the situation is. Everybody come inside. Come sit. Come on. Come inside. Everybody in. Everybody in. Single file. Single file. Now both dogs are in here, so you're gonna hear a lot of cone friction. So they had determined that in Tylee's case, they didn't think anything had happened. They were a little bit unsure about Colby, but the subject of this was for Tylee, at least for this video. And so they said the same thing. They thought she was coached, and you know, Joseph Ryan didn't have these proclivities. Keep in mind, okay, Tylee is only 5 years old. Now the amount of people she's been interviewed by police, Roxanne's house, therapists, guardians, in the court, all these things where she has to say very graphic things. She's asked about graphic things, which that in itself is traumatizing, okay? Whether or not this happened, that is traumatizing. And if it didn't happen, it's especially traumatizing, because why are you putting this in this child's head and making her do these things? And then she seemed very nervous where, you know, when Lori comes in, she tells her, I told them. And then one time she let it like almost spill the beans that it wasn't true. Then there was another time Tylee felt bad that, you know, her dad is going to be mad because she's not telling the truth. I go into it all in detail in my other video, but I'm just giving you the overview now because I don't want to just be like repeating myself in 2 videos. Okay, so there was that tasering incident. And then there was the incident where Lori said he hit her in the cafeteria of the court. And now we have another incident, and this one is particularly disturbing, not just in the incident that happened. Sorry, can you guys, they're like figuring out where they want to sit. So the other incident that happened, and this is mentioned in the report to the court, it's disturbing because not only the incident itself, but Tylee's reaction to the incident. That's what I really want to focus on, because that tells you a lot about what she was used to, what she may have already seen and experienced. And just listen. Given the information of the one visit that occurred since the order on January 11th, 2008, I am concerned that there is heightened potential for violence and physical endangerment in this situation that could potentially involve Tylee. 2 pickup trucks were observed following Mr. Ryan from Kids Exchange to his home and parking near his home during the visit. Mr. Ryan reports a threatening phone message that followed. I am disturbed by the supervisor's report that while her father was visibly shaken, a police officer met with them on the highway, and they followed his directions to go to the house and keep the doors locked. Tylee had no emotional reaction at all. It was as if nothing was happening. With a psychological indicating a high level of repressed anxiety and a history of police officers and bodyguards involved with her visitation, her emotional and mental health are at risk. Seemingly, Tylee has grown accustomed to adults who are highly upset and accustomed to police officers and bodyguards at the age of 5. I respectfully ask the court to consider appointing Tylee Ryan an attorney ad litem. My best efforts have failed, and I am unable to affect this situation in a positive way for Tylee. Damn, that's so sad. There may be a need for legal action that is not aligned with either parent's contention of what is best for the child. I do not believe this situation will resolve itself unless there is a strong child advocate involved with the ability to take legal action. So sad. So sad. So at 5 years old, her father is visibly shaken at this incident and she's not reacting. A grown man is terrified by what's happening. A 5-year-old girl, not even reacting. What has she seen? What has she witnessed? I can only imagine what it's like living with Lori and the drama and the negativity. And also in the court documents when she was with Charles, in Charles' divorce thing that would happen, they would say that Lori and Charles were fighting. They would even fight in vehicles, and Lori would grab Charles while he was driving and scream, and the car would swerve, and all kind of things like that. Very emotionally unstable home, to say the least. As if things couldn't get worse for Tylee, they do. What ends up happening is a very disturbing report that seems to happen often, and it's to do with Lori over-medicating the children, and also Tylee being forced to ingest things. Okay, listen. This came out during the evaluation to see whether Joe Ryan was being inappropriate with the kids. And if you go here to the bottom, right before summary and recommendations, it says, the mother has accused the father of forcing the child to drink a yellow drink, lemon-o. When talking to the father about treats and snacks, he mentions that beverages such and Gatorade, there is a possibility that lemon-o and Gatorade are one and the same. It's an accusation from Lori. But here's actual evidence of the way Tylee was when she was in Lori's custody. Okay, listen to this. So what we have here is the judge responding to these allegations that were made by the supervisor of the custody exchange when Lori was handing Tylee over to Joe Ryan. If I believed that Miss Vallow was over-medicating her daughter or making her stay up late in order to be lethargic during a visit with her father, I would have to schedule a hearing immediately. If I believed that Ms. Delansky threatened Tylee or her family in any way, I would be required to schedule a GAL report to the court and ask that she be removed as supervisor and or reported to the police. Now, remember, Ms. Delansky is the supervisor who was in the car and helped Joe Ryan testify that he was being harassed by these people. So again, she's in Lori's crosshairs. She's bad, she has to go. So now Tylee's making allegations that Ms. Delansky was going to kill her and her family and chop her up in pieces, which sounds like something Lori would say. Okay? At the same time, this Ms. Delansky is the one who said that Tylee appeared lethargic and over-medicated. So that's another reason why Lori would want to lie on Ms. Delansky. So then this is very tragic, but of course hindsight is 20/20, so I can't really judge. But she says, I do not believe Miss Vallow would directly or intentionally harm her child. And then she says she doesn't think Miss Delansky would harm anyone. Basically, the judge was like, if I believe these accusations, I'm gonna have to do this and schedule this. And it's already been so litigious and so much back and forth that I think everybody just didn't even, it was like another thing, and everybody was like, do we want to take this seriously? Because it's gonna open up a whole other can of worms. Everybody's exhausted, okay? Clearly, except for Lori. Now that we're talking about Tylee's medication, I think it's a good time to bring up all the health issues Tylee had, and let's just talk about it. Lots of people have said in my comments when I read these documents before that they thought Lori had Munchausen by proxy, and that she was using Tylee to get attention, sympathy, or both, drama, you know, all the stuff that Lori loves.
But I just left with the kids because I didn't want them in all the drama. Yeah.
So the people who knew Lori at this time, they have spoken out. Don't know if you have heard about this, but it's kind of old news, but it's relevant to this. So April Ryan, who is Lori's friend from when Lori lived in Hawaii, she said, quote, that Tylee always struggled with a mysterious condition and that doctors were never able to find the diagnosis. She says Tylee was always sick and she would be in her room resting or sleeping or recovering or just getting back from the doctor when she was younger. They told me she had several surgeries to try to figure out what that was. Which is so sad. Just the thought of this little girl getting all this unnecessary surgery and medication, all this stuff. April Ryan goes on to say, so Tylee, she had a lot of health issues. They could never really get to the bottom of it. The doctors couldn't figure it out. It could be that Tylee was actually sick with something and, you know, maybe Lori was trying to figure out what it was. Or it could be that Lori was just using it as an excuse to seem like, oh, you know, my daughter's sick and I'm taking care of her and all of this. It seems to me like that's something Lori would do. But then again, I don't know. Another thing too is this over-medication thing. It happened a few times. I did a video where I mentioned what Charles Vallow's children said. For the past 10 months, Lori Vallow, my son's stepmother, has been embroiled in a bitter custody battle with her ex-husband, Mr. Joseph Ryan. My son came to me and said he was having trouble sleeping and asked if I could give him a sleeping pill. A commercial for the prescription sleep aid Lunestra came on the television. Told me Dad and Lori give us all kinds of those green Advil, NyQuil, and Lunesta so we go to bed early. They practically shove it down our throat. So putting the health issues aside, there's another layer to the dysfunction in Lori's relationship with her daughter, Tylee. She would have Tylee do things Tylee had no business doing. She would have Tylee do things that Tylee shouldn't have been put in the position to do that. For example, she had Tylee essentially spy on her father during a visitation and take pictures of Joseph Ryan's bathroom. I don't know if she was trying to find like drug activity or something incriminating or whatever, but this is what the there's a document from the court. So this is dated July 16, 2008, and it says, regarding the report of Ms. Caswell on 7/12/2008, Ms. Caswell reports that Tylee was taking pictures around the house. When the three of them were standing in the kitchen, Joe stated something like, Tylee says her mom asked her to take pictures of my bathroom. Tylee did not directly say anything to Ms. Caswell about it. She continued taking pictures around the house. And instead of making sure that her daughter is either okay or having a good time or something, she's using her to gather evidence so that she can further separate father and daughter. It's just so horrible. Very selfish, very much a narcissist. So now it's 2008. So at this point, Lori leaves Texas. This was all happening in Texas. She leaves Texas, she moves with Charles Vallow, and she takes Tylee with her, which of course throws a whole wrench in the custody battle. But she does so in such a selfish way because the person who gets the brunt of this move is, you guessed it, Tylee. Yeah, little Tylee with all these health conditions is now being forced to travel frequently back and forth, which is not good for a child. And it was something that they brought up in court, actually. So here we have another report to the court, and it's talking about how Lori left and moved to Arizona. And if you look towards the bottom, it says, the move to Phoenix supports a belief that this effort can be ignored and avoided. It also continues to support Tylee's perception that her life is separate and distant from her father, while adding the strain of frequent air travel for a young child. Okay, so there are a lot more court documents, but I'm not going to be reading any more except for one. I'll just briefly tell you what some of the things are if you're interested in the other videos. So there's a very strange overnight bag situation. There are more horrific accusations, of course. And then the most depressing thing of the many depressing things is in 2009, there's a report to the court, which at that time, Tylee was about 6 or 7, and she had developed pancreatitis, which is incredibly rare for a child that age. And although they don't think it was caused by stress, they think that stress is a contributing factor. And if Tylee was in fact on all these different medications and all this stuff, who knows? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not sure how you get pancreatitis. In the documents they mention how uncommon and sad it is that she has this. That's pretty much where the court documents end, and then we move into another phase, because there is a gap between when the court documents, end, like let's say around 2009, and then when we see Tylee next, where she's on that body cam footage regarding Charles Vallow, like at the police station when he was still alive. So I was trying to figure out like what happened in between that time, and that's when I started looking into their social media. It's so tragic, especially because of how much Tylee loved Lori and the social media posts she made about her. It's so tragic, how much this little girl loved her mother and how much her mother just betrayed her repeatedly until the ultimate betrayal at the end. So let me show you some of these posts. So this one it's really cute. It's a little picture of them when Tylee was younger, and it says, emergency mother appreciation post. This is slightly random but much needed. Thank you to my mom for always being there and helping me so much. She's the greatest little mommy in the world. And then there's another one here where she goes, I won the lottery with this one as my mom. Happy birthday. And it's Lori pictured in a hot tub with JJ. And then there's this other one here where she says, my love for my mom grows every day. She is truly the best person for the job. Through everything we've been through as a family and as individuals, her faith just gets stronger. She's the best example of how I want to be as a mother someday. Happy Mother's Day. Damn. And then some more here, pictures of Tylee and her mom. And then there's a caption here as well. This one says, "Happy birthday to my mom. My mom is superior to yours, so don't even try. She's talented, beautiful, smart, and caring. Love you, from your favorite child." And then there's posts that Lori did about her children, where she seems like this loving, adoring, amazing, perfect mom. For example, this one, "Happy birthday to my little girl who is all grown up. Your mommy loves you so much." And then here's another picture. Putting that aside, moving on. Now it's 2018. And this is the year that Tylee's biological father, Joe Ryan, dies. And it's really sad because there's an interview that Tylee's aunt, remember Annie Cushing? Annie did an interview where she describes visiting Lori after, like soon after Joe's death, and how disturbing and weird that was. And I really want to focus on the things she said regarding her and Tylee's relationship. When I got there, it was as if nothing had happened. People were hardly talking about Joe. And when Lori did, the tenor was she would actually say, "The world is a better place without Joe Ryan." Annie said that Lori was discouraging Tylee from grieving about her father's death. There was a lot of tension between Tylee and Lori. She added that Lori prevented her daughter from spending much time alone with her aunt. "I just couldn't wait to get out of there," Annie said. "The place was so dark. It's like she wanted me to be afraid of the end times. There was one time where she was talking about it and she said, 'Sometimes I think it would be better just to put my kids in a car and go off the side of a cliff.'" Then Annie sent her daughter texts while she was there about what was going on. She said, "I think Lolo," and she called her Lolo, which she is a low down dirty dog. But anyway, she said, "I think Lolo might be a sociopath. To her, this was all a game. She has no empathy for the suffering anyone else was experiencing, including Tylee. I just left exhausted from the constant campaigning against Joe Ryan and Lolo's out of control ego. But I feel trapped. I connected with Tylee, but I don't want anything to do with Lolo ever again. It's absolutely exhausting. So many lies, even with the little things. I think she's unhinged and untethered from truth." And this text was on May 24th, 2018. So let's talk a little bit about money, because I think this is important. So as I mentioned earlier in the video about the custody agreement and the child support, Lori was supposed to get money, $1,500, from Joe Ryan until Tylee was 18 or Tylee passed. So it's 2018, Tylee's a teenager, and she's like about to turn 16, and her father dies. And so there's money that's to be left to her. And who's in control of that money? Lori. Who loses control of that money when Tylee turns 18? Lori. Who was killed a year before her 18th birthday? Tylee. I just find that interesting, and I just wanted to mention it. At this point, Tylee's father is gone. The only semblance of a father that Tylee has left at this point is Charles Vallow. But not for long, because as we know, she was there, potentially witnessed her father's murder by her uncle, and maybe even the mother was involved. But before that happened, we know that Tylee was dragged into another dispute between Lori and her father. But this time her father was Charles Vallow, and again Tylee was there, and Tylee was very stressed and was trying to control the situation, trying to make her mom not look as crazy as I'm sure she knows her mom is, as we know the whole comment about "you're gonna get a padded room." So here are a few clips from the interview just to refresh your memory.
He's acting like that my son was in danger. I was worried about JJ's safety and things. I told him about it and told him not to come home, and that his stuff would be gone, and that his car would be gone, and all those things. So he's a little mad. I just think it's funny because he's trying to tell everything. Just let him explain.
Right. So,
Tylee's been through this before. We know she's been dealing with police. She was detached as a child. You could see that the poor girl was trying to manage the situation when she shouldn't have even been there. A few months later, as we all know, is when Charles was killed or murdered. Conspiracy allegedly, don't sue me. Although at this point, I don't even think it's a conspiracy. There's a very interesting detail that I don't hear people talking about. And I found it on the timeline, Analytics, her timeline, and it's referring to a Dateline episode, which you can't see it anymore. I think it was only like live on TV. But in it, they interviewed the detective, a Chandler, Arizona detective, Nathan Moffat, who was there when Charles was killed, and he drove the car that transported Lori, Alex, and Tylee to the police station to get their statements. And he described the car ride as bizarre. Okay, this is what he said. He said it was actually, sorry, correction, quote, straight up bizarre. He said, it was the weirdest ride I'd ever had with 3 strangers. He described Lori as happy-go-lucky and said she was smiling and nonchalant. You would have thought we just recovered their stolen vehicle. And you want to know what else is straight up bizarre? The fact that Lori had a pool party the same exact day that they had conspired to kill Charles. And of course, we know Tylee was there. So just imagine for a second what it must have been like for Tylee. First, her biological father is dead and her mom won't even let her grieve. Then she witnesses the killing and is dragged into it and has to testify and come up with a lie, and she seemed coached there too, according to the detective. The way she said the bat thing, he felt it was coached. And now she comes back and she has no fathers. Her father figure died, her father died. This should be sad. Instead, her mom's throwing a party. We know about this party because of the landlord. He did a Facebook post, which I'll put up here, where he basically says that when he asked Lori what happened, she texted him, "We're okay, I'll explain later." And then she had a pool party later that afternoon because the neighbors reported it. And they said that there was loud music and lots of people swimming, and that Alex was staying at the house for several days following the shooting, even though he lived in the same area, and that he spoke with Lori several times following the shooting, and she never sounded shocked or heartbroken, as you would expect. And then we know that she was then asked to move, and we know after that Lori took the children and Alex and they went to Rexburg, and shortly thereafter they did what they did to the children. And that was Tylee's short yet long and disturbing and tumultuous and torturous life that this poor little girl lived. It's really, it's too much to even consider. And then of course we have that last photo of her in Yellowstone, which she doesn't seem like she knew what was coming. So the last thing I want to show you guys is a quote from Tylee's Twitter, because it just shows you like what she was going through and how wise she was. She says, "You are in charge." And then the quote says, "I am in charge of how I feel, and today I am choosing happiness." So that is all I have for you today in this deep dive on Lori and Tylee's relationship. Definitely mommy dearest relationship, but like to the extreme. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye. Stay safe. Take care of your kids.